really is wonderful to see you all again. I didn't think I would get another opportunity to bore you again, but here we go. First of all, I'd like to, well, I will welcome you if I may, even though I'm not in charge anymore, but I'd like to straight away congratulate our Jeff Wiggins for the wonderful job that he's done, and everyone who's helped him too, to make this alumni or former student organisation possible, and especially for organising these evenings. He's badgered us all, I think, but we're all here as a result of him. So well done, and keep it up. Having moved on, like yourself, I've come to realise how important a former student organisation can be, both actually for the benefit of the current students, because I've seen some good examples of how they can be helped by an alumni association, but also enabling yourselves to do a bit of networking. For example, in the school I've been head of last, which is actually in Istanbul in Turkey, I went to an alumni reunion in New York to meet some of the former students from there, and I was able to introduce a jazz singer to a jazz band. And they were all former students of the same school. And the band needed a singer, and the singer needed a band. So I don't know whether that can happen tonight. But I'm sure you're going to enjoy swapping stories and catching up, and maybe establishing some useful links. I should thank also the current head, Emma Reynolds, who is supporting this event by supporting Jeff, so her and the board of the school for making this possible as well. Now, I say the next thing with a little bit of trepidation, because I didn't think we would have board members from my time. I'm delighted to see Pauline Allen here, who was chairman of the board in my time. In fact, if you want to blame anybody, she was responsible for appointing me. But she's here tonight, but I seem to remember that I got off to a wonderful start when I came to take over here, which was January 1992. One board member, it might have been Pauline, I can't exactly remember, organised a welcoming party to meet the new head and his wife, and I forgot all about it. Of course, this was the days before cell phones, and other attempts to get me failed, so I got off to a brilliant start. Never lived that one down. But my memories are of an extremely busy school on both fronts, much teamwork, both from teachers and yourselves. Indeed, I seem to remember, I don't know if you do, that the school won an award for the number and variety of clubs and activities. That happened in your time, most of your time. And we also won, of course, at that time, one of the first technology awards, which enabled us to put a much needed injection of resources and physical redevelopment into the school just then. Just before I left, I remember the delight of the teachers, and isn't it great to see so many of them here? Isn't that wonderful? Their delight when we had an inspection and we got a pretty good report, and that did us a lot of good in the eyes of the community. That must have been in 1997. It was, of course, a great reflection on yourselves, because the greatest part of an inspection of that kind is the lessons that they watch, based on watching lessons. Now, my part wasn't so thrilling. At the time, I was teaching French to, shall I say, a rather difficult class. It would be year 8 or something like that, I guess. Anybody here from that class? Well, as I arrived to take the class, I saw a rather miserable-looking inspector sitting on the back row of the classroom. One of the students just beat me to the classroom, ran in, pointed at this guy and said, "Oh, look, Inspector Gadget." And we still got a good report. And there were other challenges too. I don't know if you remember the repeated setting off of the fire alarm? Any confessions to that? First, I tried the tactic I'd used elsewhere, which was waiting until it was throwing down with rain and setting it off myself. But the trouble was, we got wet as well, and Mr Nicholson didn't like my idea of just standing in my office and using a loud hailer to shout outside. But we did set up, I seem to remember, a video camera. I suppose you could do that today. And as one young man might well know, it worked. I better leave that story there. And on another occasion, in my time, I came to the school at about 8 o'clock one morning. I parked my car in the head's parking bay, and I was picked up by Ivan Marks, who was the head of Wangels. He came to take me to a meeting of heads somewhere else. And just after I'd gone, a very angry parent came into the school demanding to see Mr Lennox, and refused to believe that I wasn't there, because my car was in the car park. So he insisted on staying. He wasn't going to go until he'd seen Mr Lennox. And the poor man was still there at 2 o'clock when I got back. He'd almost forgotten what he'd come for. I hope it wasn't one of your parents. But all that sort of stuff is part of the rich life of school. I'm sure you could add to those stories if you wanted to. But I went on to really enjoy my interactions with yourself, whether that was through teaching, sport. I got a bit involved with the football and cricket teams, and in some of the other extra activities. I particularly enjoyed the Edale trips, and no matter how exhausted you got in the daytime, there was somehow enough energy left for those mass football matches in the evening. Do you remember those? They were happy days. But mention of Edale, of course, conjures up the name and memory of Ray Hadfield, who was the head for many of you, and who had introduced the annual Edale trip out of his passion for the great outdoors. That was an initiative I was very happy to support, coming from Derbyshire myself and being quite familiar with the area. When I'd been appointed as his successor, but before I was in post, I visited the school for the annual open evening, which I dare say many of you took part in, the occasion when you present various activities to prospective parents. I was staying at Ray's house in Winnersh, and when I got back at about 10 p.m, he'd clearly been waiting to hear what I thought of the school. When I told him that I had seen many great kids anxious to show the visitors how good their school was, I saw a fleeting smile which told me immediately what the school meant to him and how dedicated he was to the school. I'm sure you all knew this, and we should remember him for the part he played in your education and in the development of the school. As Jeff said, in just over 50 years, the school's only had 5 head teachers, with another great servant, of course, Peter Nicholson, standing in when there were changes and recently acting as head in these meetings, as Jeff pointed out. And he and I, of course, were always nobly assisted by our Merv Boniface, who was deputy during my time, and much longer, of course. This relatively few number of heads says a lot for how students and staff felt about the school. As you know, there are many other teachers, some sitting here, and other staff, who served for many, many years. It was and is your school, and I hope you share that special feelings. Now, many schools have mottos or short phrases intended to convey the meaning of an institution. Many are in Latin. The school I went to had Propositi tenax, I hold to what I am. Another school that I led had Quo non ascendam. You can go as far as you want to go. But I think the Bulmershe motto, where everyone matters, is so appropriate. And when I wrote this speech, I had no idea that the young lady who gave us that motto was actually going to be here tonight. I believe she is. Nicola would be too embarrassed to show where she is. Here she is at the front. But I think it is so appropriate because it points to the basic humanity that is needed to ensure positive communities. Most of the world's problems are a direct result of the opposite. Everyone doesn't matter. I don't know how well we lived up to it when you were here as a student, but I know that we tried to let it guide us. If people don't matter, then what is it all about? It's a motto that can serve you well in whatever role you undertake. Worker, father, mother, volunteer, whatever you do. My experience here led me to lead two further schools, armed with an action plan that squarely placed the students and the teachers in the centre of an organisational approach that enabled me to assess the impact of every aspect of a school's functioning against the realities of the education received. It was a very helpful blueprint. Yes, I succumbed to the lure of a job in Bermuda, which lasted for 12 years after I left here. My wife had told me several times that she dreamed of living on an island paradise. Clearly living with me wasn't enough. It may not have been entirely that, but it was close, and it was a wonderful experience. And guess what? At an early stage, my wife and I were invited to a board member's house for dinner, to meet some of the island's dignitaries, and I completely forgot it. I haven't really got anything against board members, by the way. I've enjoyed a very good relationship with the boards of all the schools that I've led. And following the Bermuda experience, just when I thought I'd retire, someone had other ideas, and I went to lead a school in Turkey, in Istanbul. Another amazing experience. Although I retired as head there 2 years ago, I still work for them part-time. I hope you are having and will continue to have a career as satisfying and interesting as mine. I have the pleasure of looking at the lives and careers of hundreds of young people. Very few jobs have such rewards. Thank you for the lessons you taught me. Thank you.